So, two and three. Okay, so again, one more time, thank you everyone for joining. Welcome and happy Teachers' Day to everyone. And thank you very much for joining with a different schedule. Normally, we run this session on Sundays, but tomorrow I have quite a few other engagements. So I thought I'll be doing better justice to all of us if we do it freely and relaxedly today. And apologies that the last 15 minutes you guys had to wait and we had to spend in setting up certain things because of the resource issues. So, as we discussed, so usually this set of PMP sessions, right? Basically, the idea was we will take up one small topic and then discuss it in threadbare details for half an hour or 40 minutes, and then have another half an hour of question and answer session on any topic. But we are sometimes running out of topics, or sometimes people have asked me, hey Bhuvan, can you do an entire knowledge area? Many have asked, and I have steadfastly refused to do this. But then I thought, why not? Let us do it crisply. Maximum 1 hour we will discuss some session, some knowledge area completely, and then have question and answer. And that's the challenge here. So we have till 5:30 today, in which we will have in detail stakeholder management as our topic, and we will have question and answer also. So let's see how we manage our time. And I'm very sure that you can even have one full day and still not finish discussing stakeholder management or any area. And if you can do it in one day, we can do it in 1 hour also. So hopefully I'm audible and my screen is visible. And just a moment, I'm just quickly checking in which screen basically I'm there. All right, beautiful. So, right, quick check. The recording is on. All right. So now to start, can someone tell me what stakeholder? Is this going to be an interactive session? See, I may be the teacher, but a teacher has no meaning unless there is a student. Just like you don't become a parent unless you get a child. No one becomes a teacher unless there is a student. So you guys are the ones who have made me the so-called teacher or trainer, coach, mentor. So I'm really grateful and indebted to you all. Without your support, it would have been impossible, simply black and white. It would have been impossible for us to conduct this session. So thank you very much. And let's have this as an interactive session. First question, can someone tell me what stakeholder is? What is your understanding of a stakeholder?
A stakeholder is a resource who has both positive and negative influence for the project.
Okay, and
Anyone who
Who
can
can
influence
influence
or get influenced positively or negatively by the project outcome.
beautiful. My simple question is, how many of you have seen Dracula movie? How many of you have heard the word Dracula? How many of you know? All of you know, right? I hope there is
Yes.
no one here who does not know what Dracula is. You may have seen the Dracula movie, some version. There are hundreds of Dracula movies that have come. You may have seen, may not have seen. But in that Dracula movie, I usually love playing this video, but knowing our problem with resources and everything, I would better not risk playing a video here. But in a Dracula movie, there is a scene, right? There is the hero and or the sidekick, basically, of the hero, and his girlfriend dies. But then, because she's bitten by Dracula, and then they believe that she's actually not dead, she's undead. So they go to really kill her or make her dead from undead. So they go and they drive something in her heart. Sorry, very cruel start to the session. But they drive something called a stake. They say, right? A stake, it has to be driven through the heart, blah, blah, blah. And that is what, that stake and these stake are not very much different. Hey, what stake do you have in this project? If someone comes and says, hey, can you tell me why you're interrupting me? Do you have any stake in the discussion in this topic? We ask, right? A stake, basically. Very easy for you to remember if you remember Dracula. A stake. Imagine they drive the stake through the heart to kill that person. Similarly, a stakeholder is someone who holds the stake in the hand, can make or break the project. As some of you beautifully said, a stakeholder is someone who can influence positively or negatively a project, in turn, who is also influenced by the project. This is something we keep forgetting. Please remember, a stakeholder is not just someone who can actually influence a project, they can also be influenced. by the outcome of the project, which basically brings us to some peculiar awkward situations called unaware stakeholders also. Can a person be unaware that he or she is a stakeholder? And if that person is unaware, why the hell do you bother to even say talk about that person? That's the beauty in stakeholder management. 360 degrees in three dimensions. There are people who will always be influenced by the outcome of your project and who in turn can influence. And if you, as a project manager, do not take care of these people and do not properly engage with them, then your project is doomed. That is why stakeholder management is very important. Can you see here the picture that you are seeing? The two deers or stags, for example, locking horns. This is very significant of stakeholder management. These two deer, they are actually friends. This this could be a friendly fight. You cannot take it to one extreme where it is a very serious fight and they damage each other. At the same time, it's also not all friendly. So that is what stakeholder management is about. It's neither something very serious that it's a make or break, that everything is bad, you must put your foot down and you must always win. It's also not something where everything is goody goody. You should know which stakeholder has how much level of interest or influence in the project, and keep monitoring whether this level of interest or influence changes during the lifetime of the project. And for that particular occasion, for that particular level of engagement, and for that particular stakeholder, you take some steps based on the situation. That is what stakeholder management is all about. So we will see actually in this session. Our target is maximum by 5:10 or something to close the discussion on stakeholder management, because we lost 15 minutes. So maximum by 5:10 we will close the discussion on stakeholder management and open the floor for some questions on any topic. So in these 1 hour sessions, what we will do is we will follow some sort of protocol. These will be the high level topics. So when you see these topics, for example, if you go in this series, we will cover so that we are very sure that we will not miss any important thing. So we will see some definitions, some additional concepts, and go through the process in detail, but not in too much detail. In some detail, we will see the processes, and then question and answers. So, ouch. So this is what I said. Can you see Dracula? What is in a stake? So this is basically what I say. So usually stakeholder management is not such a cruel thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's an art. Once I recollect in one of the discussions, for example, some years back, it was when I was in Chennai. That was what 7, 8 years back when I was working in Chennai. I attended one of the Project Management Institute Chennai chapter's knowledge sharing sessions, and it happened at what we call as the DLF Park in Chennai. Many of you, ouch,
Bhuvan,
yeah.
Bhuvan, can you please allow some people there in the meeting lobby?
That's interesting. They are actually being allowed. Let me see. Just a moment. No, I don't have a meeting request. I don't have a meeting
I
request.
think Jogasmita Pai.
No. Yeah, I saw the name, but there is no one actually. Just a minute. I'm just checking. No, I don't see her. Actually, I saw her name popping up repeatedly, but I don't have a meeting request here. Allow me, ask me to allow her. Maybe can you request her maybe to maybe log out and log in or something like that? Because I did not admit anyone of you except 2 or 3 people. I did not allow anyone else. All of you joined by yourselves. It could be that in the meantime, for a short time, I logged into Firefox where I had to admit some people. So ask her to log out or go out completely and get in. Yeah, I don't know if she can see the session because she's not in the meeting.
Yeah, Bhuvan. Yeah, even for me, it was saying. I think I sent her a snapshot of in the meeting. Initially, even it was showing me the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, that
He
was
has to
because
allow. Somebody has to.
that was a short
Yeah.
period when I also
Okay. Okay.
logged in from Firefox, which does not have this extension. And
Okay.
then
Okay.
I realized the mistake. I logged out and joined from a different ID, so that on
Okay.
Chrome I am in my host ID, so nobody needs permission to join. So I don't know how many.
Okay. Then I think he has to try again once again. Maybe.
She just has to log out completely, close the browser and
Yeah.
reopen. I'm not able to actually communicate with her. I don't know. Please inform her. Yes. So basically, this is what, ouch, this is what stakeholder management is. So when I was saying, so those 8 years back when I attended this PMI Chennai chapter session in DLF Park in Chennai, It was in a corporate. It was a corporate cases, so people had to be signing outside in the register. For example, at the it's an IT park, and I had to tell them, see, you know what? I don't work in this park. I'm not an employee of any of the companies there. I've come for PMI. They said, what PMI? I said, hello, PMI. They're conducting a session at I think CTS Cognizant. It was fun. I had to really convince. So basically, what I was doing was half begging and half ordering about. I was telling them, guys, I have come to PMI. You have to allow me inside at the same time. So, and finally, somehow somebody else came and they said, yes, PMI. Okay, it's in CTS. They allowed me. So then I was telling some people in the meeting, you know what? I had to half beg and half order. They said, go on. That is called stakeholder management. Half begging, half ordering. You cannot go to one extreme where you really fight, and fight. At the other extreme, you should also not be in a situation where you are only begging. So this is the how to say, this is what stakeholder management is about. In fact, the word management, one of you had, I think Maria, actually, you had messaged me personally saying, hey, stakeholder management is very good. I'm always confused between monitoring and managing all those. I'll tell you, believe me, that's the point here. The word management, monitoring, or for what? Or for resources that are not human resources. For people, people should not be managed. As a project manager, you manage work, you lead people. That's the difference. And you don't monitor or control people or stakeholders, you monitor the level of engagement. So some funny things you will see in stakeholder management. In other processes, in other knowledge areas, you will see the word management a lot. Control that, monitor this, manage this. In stakeholder management, you will see a beautiful word called engagement. That is a statement that you are not managing someone, you are engaging with someone. You are monitoring the level of engagement of the stakeholders and you are controlling that level of engagement. That's it. So management you don't do, engagement you do. That is stakeholder management. And standard definition of PMBOK: stakeholder management. Stakeholder is any people. It could be one or two people, it could be a complete group, a department, an organization, and a complete company also, that could impact or be impacted by the project. Be very careful. There is a knowledge area where also you deal with a specific set of stakeholders. Can someone tell me what is this knowledge area where also you deal with stakeholders? Anyone?
Human resource.
Exactly. Both right and wrong. There is nothing called human resource. Now you have only resource management. In PMBOK 6, human resource management is removed resource management. In resource management, you deal with physical resources and also human resources, but that is a very small, specific set of stakeholders, which is basically your project team. Believe me, PMP exam questions, in PMP, when they use the word stakeholder, it means you yourself also, you project manager, you are also a stakeholder. Your own team, project team, is also a stakeholder. It so happens that your team's engagement, for that you have a very specific area called resource management. It's a very special, in double quotes, it's a very special set of stakeholders. Your team's human resources, which are your team members. And stakeholder management knowledge area deals with every set of stakeholders other than your own project team members. Remember, this is a PMI ISAM. In PMP examination, the word stakeholder includes you and your team members, but when they ask some questions about stakeholder management or something, generally they talk about people other than your own team members. So your stakeholder management knowledge area covers people other than your own team members. So some important things: the people whom you are talking about need not really be affected by the project, but even a perception, if somebody perceives that they are being influenced by the project, then also it is good enough. I'm still seeing some people are joining, so that means it's working, the extension is working without admitting them. That's good. So now, um question is, when people are not really sure if they are stakeholders, how can you engage with them? One, someone who does not even know that he or she is affected, why are you even talking about them? I will give you one example. You are a project manager for a project. Your department has some other projects which are the same domain, everything same, there's different projects. And there is another peer project manager. There are some people, some experts working for that project manager. Do you think this other project manager is a stakeholder in your project? He or she has nothing to do with your project, completely different project. But the people are shared. but do you think that person will be affected by your project? Yes, no? You can type or you can unmute yourselves to say the answer. Do you think the other project manager, the peer project manager, will be influenced? Yes. One situation, imagine suddenly you need some experts who are not in your team who this other project manager can supply. Do you think now at that moment, when that moment comes, this other project manager becomes critical? So what will you do? Will you say this other project manager, his project is different, so I will not care? You can't. But then at the other extreme, you cannot also forever keep engaging him or her regularly, because you are your own critical stakeholders who are immediately and directly influencing your project, whom you should take more care of and immediately. So you have to strike a balance. So you will see actually some processes, some tools and techniques, how you can find this delicate balance, how much to engage someone. No extremes. You ignore someone is one extreme, you give too much importance to other extremes. How you can balance what kind of stakeholders? In fact, when I prepared for my PMP examination 7 or 8 7 years back, I got some mnemonics for myself. And when I started doing this trainings 2 3 years back, I was not really comfortable with what Rita or Pimbok, all these people say, because I still felt, as a learner, I always felt inadequate whenever I had to remember how to handle what class of stakeholder and what actions to take. So I found some of my own mnemonics. So I'm not going to copyright them. I will share that with you. So that will be a very easy for you to remember how to engage which stakeholder to which extent. And people, their interest may be positive or negative, great, and their background can come from anything. You remember in risk management, guys, my understanding is all of you are to a very good extent deep inside PMP preparation, so we will not discuss everything in detail. I understand, or I assume that you know some basics of PMP and PMBOK. So imagine in risk management, how do you look for risks? You go for some categories in a very structured way. You define what are the areas or sources of risk you can look into. Can I look into our requirements also? Legal, social, economical, political, technical or technological, all this. So you have, and then in each of these areas, in a very structured way, you ask, are there legal risks, are there legal requirements, are there transition requirements, are there risks arising from environmental causes? Similarly, for stakeholder also, in a very systematic manner, you will list some categories and then you will go and look out. Yes, guys, stakeholder management is, if not more critical, at least as critical as going out and looking for risks. Just like your project is screwed if you don't identify all the risks or as many risks as possible upfront. Your project is doomed if you don't identify as many stakeholders as possible. So this is very critical. Now, how do you go and look for stakeholders? And not only you are going to look for stakeholders, you're also going to engage with them regularly. That's what you will do in stakeholder management. So, ouch, 1 minute. Okay. So, so what are the kinds of stakes a person can have? It could be an interest, a personal interest, a professional, political interest in the project. It could be legal, moral. They could have rights. This is my right to work on this project. Some senior team member may feel this is a very highly visible project. This could be a very challenging project. It is my right to work on the project. And imagine if that person is not part of the project, tomorrow he or she may come into picture, may impact the project. Ownership, knowledge, contribution, it could be any kind of stake the person may have. And here comes the most important thing for you, both as a PMP exam candidate and also a real life project manager, about stakeholder management. Conventional thinking is stakeholder management means people are there and they exist because there is some work existing and you are important, your project is important, and the people exist to work on your project. But that is not the truth. The real thing about stakeholder management is people do not exist for doing work. Work exists. You as a project manager exist for people. Your work, your project exists because of the people. So stakeholder management, it's not getting work done through people. Rather, you should see it's a blessing. See, guys, you should feel blessed that these people are existing. You're getting an opportunity to get a project through which you can actually develop the people. So it is not that you get the work done through the people. That is conventional wisdom. Wrong. The reality is you are blessed enough to get a project because that project will be the tool, will be the vehicle through which you develop people. So that should, and you develop yourselves as a leader. So that is the real meaning of stakeholder management. Now, let's get ahead. So, stakeholder management definition. So, stakeholder management contains lots of processes, and stakeholder management is the only other process other than integration management that has a process in initiation. And why? Identify stakeholders. Imagine you are trying to define the scope. You are trying to define schedule, cost, quality, expectation, risks. How can see you are not a single person, you are a team. But the bloody thing is, where is this team? Project charter gets created, and project charter tells you high level thing. These are the high level goals, budget, and what you call it, schedule, high level teams, high level risks, everything. So it gives you a very high level idea about what you are supposed to do, within what constraints, and whom to talk to. That's great. But then, if you really do not even know whom to talk to, experts, you remember all the tools, expert judgment, and focus groups, nominal group techniques, all these things that involve people. Where are these people coming from? You are not going to do the project alone. You need people. Where do these people come from? They come from identifying the stakeholders. First thing you do in the project after chartering it is to go and identify the people. Who are the people who can screw my project or help my project? Who are the people who can give me knowledge about what scope is? Who are the people who can tell me what is the best way to make a schedule so that my critical path is properly identified and I can avoid the blockers? Who are the people who can give me tips about how to build a budget and what to take care into budgeting, what not? Who can help me best to identify risks on day zero of the project itself? Who are the people I can talk to talk about good outsourcing practices in procurement management? All these things. That's why I said identifying stakeholders is the first thing you will do in the project after it's chartered. That is why in identifying stakeholders you will do that, and then, like any other knowledge area, you will have a planning for it. Now that you have identified stakeholders, you will use them to make the plan for every single knowledge area: scope, schedule, cost, quality, resources, risk, procurement, communication, and stakeholder engagement. For every damn plan you are making, together it's called the project management plan. You will make that all these plans and also a plan for engaging the stakeholders. Can you see here? I can zoom here. If you see here, can you see here? This is not plan stakeholder management. Can you see other things? Management, plan, schedule management, cost management. But here it's plan stakeholder engagement. And then during the execution of the process of the project in the executing phase, you will simply follow this, whatever you are planning in your stakeholder engagement plan. You will simply execute it. As the project work is getting done by your team members, you will work on this plan, stakeholder engagement plan, implement whatever you have planned, and you will ensure the project runs smoothly. And then monitor stakeholder engagement. You will see whether the engagement level that you defined or identified in the early days of the project is still remaining, changing, and then it's a continuous process. Just because someone was goody goody happy with you, you mark him as a very engaged stakeholder. You will see the different levels of stakeholders. He's an advocate of the project, doesn't mean that he or she will retain the same level of engagement. It need not be anything to do with the project. It need not anything to do with you. Imagine, say for example, Rajesh is there in this call, right? So Rajesh, you are see, I am the project manager. On day one, Rajesh is in my team. I speak to Rajesh. Rajesh is very enthusiastic. He says, Bhuvan, you know what? It's my dream to work in this technology. Thank you very much for having me as part of this team. I've now joined. You know what? You will have 200,000% of my engagement. Wow. And then you see, for example, you make a plan saying, Rajesh, you know what? Don't give too much time to engage Rajesh because he's self motivated. So, what you do? You will spend less time with Rajesh and you'll spend more time with those people whom you suspect to be having lesser engagement. Suddenly, your customer starts reporting issues, bugs, or there are delays in those packages Rajesh is handling. Rajesh, sorry, I'm taking your name. I just want to take one name.
Yeah, no problem. Go on.
Yeah, suddenly, and then you find Rajesh, and then people start coming and complaining to you. Hey, you know what, Bhuvan, Rajesh, actually something is happening in his personal life. What is happening? Because he comes always late nowadays. He's taking leaves. Really? And then you see how you can do. And then to your surprise, you find you're not planned too much time to spend with Rajesh on a regular basis. And then you conduct a meeting and you call Rajesh for a discussion. And Rajesh says, yeah, Bhuvan, everything is fine. That's the first sign. When people do not confide in you, that's a sign of disengagement. Then you dig in and find probably Rajesh has some other, say for example, somebody has some other Rajesh's colleague in the former company has said, hey, Rajesh, we are actually looking for more people, and we are going to send people on site, and we will give you more salary, 1.5x salary and everything. Rajesh is confused, and he also feels Bhuvan is not, as a project manager, Bhuvan is not engaging him very well, and he feels, see, just because I said in the beginning I'm very engaged, Bhuvan has started ignoring me. So Rajesh's level of engagement has fallen because you ignored him, because his engagement level was very high. If only you had not got satisfied because his engagement level was high, and instead of that you had regularly engaged him as per plan, you had made a plan first of all to engage him and execute the plan and engage him regularly, this situation would not have arisen. That is the meaning of continuously monitoring the level of engagement of the stakeholders, and wherever there's a deviation, immediately taking steps. This is called monitoring stakeholder engagement. So where do you see the word management here? Nowhere. You identify stakeholders, you plan, you manage, and you monitor stakeholder engagement. Even in executing phase, it's manage stakeholder engagement, which means you're not managing the stakeholders, you're managing their engagement. We will see how this is done. One moment. So now, so you see the word between managing and engaging. Now you know the difference, right? Managing is just doing just what is needed. As per good project management practices, there is some genius called Bhuvan who taught us that you have to make a plan, you have to follow the plan, and that's my job. I have done that. Sorry, that's managing. Managing is something that you will do if somebody tells you to do. Engaging is something that you'll only do if you want. Anybody can actually manage things. Only good and great project managers, good and great leaders can do engagement, because engaging is something that you do because you want to do, not because your plan or some document says so. Now you understand the difference? So most of the time, stakeholders are thrown at us. How often do you get to choose people in your team? Very rarely. Very rarely. Most of the time, you remember pre-assignment. People, one project to another project, as you move across, the same set of people work. So you have no way in choosing only those people whose engagement level was high at the beginning and will remain always high. And even if you do get such set of people, their engagement level is not all the same, because everyone goes through ups and downs, highs and lows in mood, engagement level, motivation, everything, right? So that is why engaging becomes very important. So you have basically these four processes. So identifying stakeholders, in that you are basically identifying them. Notice the keyword regularly. So identifying stakeholders is not a one time activity. As new requirements come, new risks arise, new constraints in schedule, cost, any damn thing that happens in the project, somewhere one new stakeholder is getting added, or a stakeholder gets removed, or a stakeholder's engagement changes. So you have to identify the stakeholders regularly. Bhuvan, how do I know when to identify stakeholders? Same answer when you ask, how do I know when to identify risk? Risk management, stakeholder engagement, or identifying stakeholders, identifying risks. It is not a task, it is a responsibility. What do you mean? What is the difference between a task and responsibility, guys? A task is something that you are given and you do. Responsibility is something that you take. Simple example, you imagine It is like organizing. I'm going to give an example like your school children. I'm very sorry for that. Imagine you are a kid. Go back to your kid, a child, or your own kids you can take. Imagine your kid is getting its birthday, and uh, you are telling your kid, you know what? Imagine you have two children, and you are giving the elder child the responsibility of organizing the younger child's birthday. Imagine you are telling, hey, my elder child, she is responsible. You are responsible for ensuring all the balloons and everything of tight room is neatly arranged and everything. This is a responsibility. Will this be better? Or you tell your child, go and blow the balloon, go and tie the balloon, go and clean the room, go and do this. This is task. What would be better? Obviously, giving the child the responsibility. So, if a person is given responsibility, he or she will do a much better job. So, identifying risks, identifying stakeholders is like that. It is your responsibility that you regularly do it because you're doing it as a habit. And it's not only identifying stakeholder is not, you're not writing a telephone directory where you are listing people. The stakeholder register that you will create as an output of this process, you're not going to list only people, you're also going to list information about these people, like their interest, influence, involvement, interdependencies, what is the exact impact they may have on the project success or failure. All these things you will do. So, identifying stakeholders is not identifying individuals and listing them like a telephone directory. You will list all their attributes, more information about them. You will see what this thing is. In planning stakeholder engagement, you already have a list of stakeholders, you already have information about them. You will leverage this. You will use this information about the stakeholders and see for each stakeholder, according to each situation, time period in the project, to the level of engagement, you will make tailored customized plans. You will develop approach how to involve them regularly based on what are the needs, implicit needs, explicit expectations, interests, impact, everything. And in managing stakeholder engagement, you do two things. One is you implement this plan. Basically, you work with the stakeholders in line with these approaches that you just defined in planning. Second, you also communicate to them. I regularly tell you guys, right, in all the sessions, the most important job of a project manager is what? Can someone tell me? Communication.
Communication.
Two jobs, communication, communication. Three jobs, communication, communication, and communication. So you will communicate. See, I will tell you, it's not enough that you know what the people are thinking or what you are thinking. You also have to tell the people what you are thinking. You have to explicitly talk, communicate in various ways to each people, to each person, very clearly. Hey, I know this is your level of engagement. These are your needs. These are your expectations. I also see you. You know, Avatar movie. Have you seen, right? In Avatar movie, they say, I see you. So, similar. You have to communicate to people that you know what they are feeling, what their needs are. You're always aware. Worst thing that will happen is, sorry, Bhuvan, my needs are wrong or they have changed. Okay. So, communication, two-way communication, that is managing the stakeholder engagement and not only communicating. If there are issues, you must address them. This is also executing. When you discuss with them, what do you mean by implementing the stakeholder engagement plan, managing the plan or expectation? You speak to them, you identify if the needs have changed or remain the same, or the needs and expectations getting fulfilled. If not, you address issues. This is where conflict resolution everything comes. I'm looking at time, we should be faster now. So all these things, you address the issues, and what is the ultimate target? You ensure at that particular period of the project, that particular stakeholders needs, expectations, everything is satisfied. That is ultimate purpose of this process, managing stakeholder engagement. Monitoring stakeholder engagement, it's M&C process. You simply compare your plan with the actuals and you tailor either your engagement plan or the way you are executing that engagement plan. And that is, you update the strategies. Different times people change. Imagine a person who is having family problem. He, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, he is having problem at home with his spouse, with his children or whatever. You have to tailor. It's okay that person comes on a short-term thing. You cannot show rules and regulations. 8 hours work, you're coming late. It's okay. You know the famous story of Abdul Kalam, right? There is an anecdote. I don't think it's an anecdote. It's a real thing that they say when Abdul Kalam was in what is this ISRO or DRDO, right? They say one day one of the scientists had some committed to his children and family that he will take them to work, take them to exhibition or circus. But it so happened that particular day he had to stay at home and he could not even communicate to his family. And suddenly at the end of the day, late night when he was leaving for home, he remembered, oh God, I committed to my wife and children. I had to go. I will take them everywhere, and I did not even bother to tell them. I forgot. He goes home shivering, and he sees his family is very happy. He's puzzled. He says, what happened? Then the wife and children say, no, no, this uncle came, your manager came, and he took us to the circus and everything, all those things. Great, we had a great evening. And his manager does not even tell him that he did that. And then next day when he meets, the manager says, I know that you committed, you already told me, and I also knew that you were so deep in the work you forgot. But anyway, made sure that your family, its needs or expectations are satisfied. And that manager was Abdul Kalam. You remember this story? This is called engaging with the stakeholders, guys. It's not a joke, it's a real thing. And believe me, these are things you can actually it's not that you are born with these traits, you can actually learn. So leaders are not born, leaders are made. And stakeholder engagement is one thing where the real leader in you, right, it's created, it's made. So these are in a nutshell, these are the process. Let us look at only some major things, and so we will not go through every single slide. For example, say you have to be very careful. There is no one size fits all. I told you, right? You cannot treat, for example, Rajesh and say Maria, both of them in the same scale. Each one of them has a different expectation based on their own personal expectations, needs, and everything. Like that, each one has a different expectation. Okay, so no one size fits all. And identify as many as possible. If you want to err on the side of so many stakeholders, it's okay. You take as many stakeholders, you make it as a habit. Regularly look at the stakeholder register, identify as many stakeholders as needed, involve the entire team. See, the first stakeholder you identify, you involve him or her to do the second stakeholder. Like that, you involve the entire team in identifying and engaging the stakeholders, and review the list regularly. Co-creation, you know what co-creation means? You work together and you create the stakeholder engagement plan, register and everything. Capture both positive and negative values. So these are some things you have to understand when making a stakeholder engagement plan. And sometimes in an agile environment, very dynamic. Every sprint plan, the stakeholders list may change, and stakeholder engagements change regularly. Every 2 weeks, once you are going you're going intensively into your execution. You have a demonstration every sprint cycle. So the level of engagement ebbs and flows every 2 3 weeks once. So you have to be constantly engaged. I will remind me on our WhatsApp group, right? I will share one YouTube video about what is the role of a scrum master. It's a very funny video, some of you would have seen it. The scrum master, right? It's a comedy video, and that is basically what you have to do. You have to be a good leader when you're engaging agile teams. Your job is not to deliver the project, it is to ensure the team members are always constantly and positively engaged, so they deliver the project for you. So these are some things you must remember when you are doing stakeholder management. So let us look at some tools and techniques. I'm not going to talk only about major, because remember, stakeholder management is a 3 hour topic in PMI or the other PMP sessions we do. So I don't expect to cover everything in 1 hour. So let us look at only some key points in stakeholder tools and techniques. We talked about, hold on. Yeah, let us look at, yeah, a stakeholder register. What are the contents of a stakeholder register? So if you see here, I told you a stakeholder register, it's not just a list of people. It has information with which you can identify the stakeholders: name, org position, blah blah blah. Yeah, telephone directory. In addition, what are the major expectations, needs, requirements? What is the agenda for this person? Why he or she is in the project? Believe me, don't treat people, don't take them for granted. When you are having people in your team, they may have been pre-assigned to you. That is not an excuse for you actually to take them for granted. They may have their expectations. Look at the entire lifetime of the project when they are engaged. See, imagine one of the ladies in your team is going on maternity leave. Imagine her expectations, needs. She may not be able to tell you everything clearly, but you as a leader have to understand and you have to record it. And some of this information you will not make it public, also, it's confidential information, but you will engage her. You will not wait for her to come and tell you she's feeling sick, she's taking leaves and everything. You will enable her. Work from home. You will fight with the HR and make sure that she is able to leverage every small policy that's available and more. So, which phase of the project that stakeholder has more impact during testing, during development, during requirements, where? And classification, internal or external stakeholder. You will see next impact, grid, influence, power, interest, all these things. Upward, downward. Whether that person reports to you, you report to the person, that person is part of some other team, or what? He's your peer, project manager, all these things. This is called upward, downward, outward, sideward. You will list all these things. These are only a subset. Feel free to add as many things as possible, as many characteristics as possible to classify stakeholders. And the biggest question, why you need a stakeholder register, the biggest answer is, if you are taking the project over from someone else in the middle of the project, your stakeholder register is the first thing that will help you. What if some other project manager is dropping, leaving landmines for you, leaving some bombs and leaving? How will you even know? Or you are giving the project to someone else. That is where stakeholder register is very important during handover. So, now, this is probably the most important tool in stakeholder management and the most famous tool, one of the most famous tools in PMP, power interest grid. There are many names for it. Some people call it power influence grid, some people call it influence interest grid, all lots of different things. But when I say power and influence, they mean the same. Okay, power means how much power or influence that stakeholder has in killing the project or in making it succeed, make or break. That is power. Interest means the person may or may not have power, it's okay, but how much interest the person has, what will you do with the interest without power? Very simple. Someone, I will tell you, I will give you examples. Someone with an interest will give you tips. You know what, you don't, even if you list million stakeholders, you don't have the bandwidth to go and talk to every stakeholder every time, unless that person has an interest in the project. Then imagine, if a person has interest in the project, then only they will come by themselves and help you. That is why interest is very important. Now you understood the difference between power slash influence and interest. So you will draw a grid, a matrix, a two-dimensional matrix. X-axis is interest, y-axis is power or influence. So along the x-axis, as you go from low to high, the person will have a high level of interest in seeing you and your project succeed. As you go up in this grid, low to high, the person has a higher power to make or break or kill or push and advocate for your project. So how will you deal with these people? Simple. See, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These are stakeholder names. Stakeholder A, stakeholder B, stakeholder C. That's it. So if you're wondering, so how will you handle them? One moment. So far, so good, guys. Am I too fast? Yes, I am fast because it's a 1 hour session, but I'm trying to give you the gist, the big picture of what stakeholder management means in the real sense, both in PMP and real life project management. And I'm touching upon some critical and the most important tools and techniques. So it may look like I'm running, but I hope I'm not going above your heads, right? So imagine someone with a low interest and low influence, you will monitor them. I'll tell you what it means. High interest, low power, keep informed. Low power, high interest, sorry, low interest, high power, keep satisfied. High power, high interest, manage closely. So what is the exact meaning of this? Example I will give you will be able to understand. Someone who has a low power and low interest, example will be your peer, or sorry, hold on, low power low interest will be a member, project team member, an expert who is not working in your project but in your some other project in your organization, who may be used in your engaged in your project. Why are low power low interest? that other project team member is a team member. He cannot kill your project. Also, interest will be very low because he or she is not working on your project. So why do you even bother to add him or her to your stakeholder register, add all the characteristics, expectations, blah, 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 and go all the extent in creating a monitor plan for it? Why? Because imagine when you are making resource plan at the beginning of the project, you don't add him or her because he or she is not available to you. Will this remain the same? You will keep monitoring how much that person is engaged in other project. Some of them will be political. Yeah, you know what? Take one name, say Lakshmi is in this call. Lakshmi is not satisfied with her project, with her manager. You know what? Keep monitoring her level of engagement in that project. Just engage her sometimes. The moment you know that she is ready to resign, right? Sometimes, yes, Bhavya. Also, people who have resigned. Sometimes you have to keep more. That person is a different organization. Yes, has left the company. Can you rehire the person for your project? Tomorrow, you may need that person. So keep an eye out, eyes and ears out, monitoring. Keep informed. High interest, low influence, or low power. The example I give, always I give. Imagine if you are men, it's your wives. If you are women, it's your husbands. I always give for men, I use this example. Your wife is a very high interest, low power stakeholder. Low power because your wife cannot kill the project. But you know what? She has a high interest in you, and by interest, your project. Imagine every day you come home stressed, you're always stressed because of your project. Your wife will pray for you, right? That your project should go into success so that you are happy. So, how will you engage your wife or your husband? Keeping them informed. Keeping them informed. So you'll keep them informed, be it day to day, today I will come late, or how is your project status. You'll keep your wife or husband informed so that they know they are high influence. Because who knows? Sometimes they can give you a third party view. They say, hey, Bhuvan, you know what? You're keeping me informed of this project regularly. I believe there is a downtrend in your project and I've sensed some things. Are you really sure you want to continue in this project? Why didn't you talk to your manager to move to another project? That is keeping informed. Now, low interest, high power. Hey, Bhuvan, can someone at all have low interest and high power? How can a high power person have low interest? Any example? High power, low interest. Any example?
Bhuvan, Prashant here.
Yes, Prashant.
One example for this, recently, 1 year before, there was a project which I was handling, and there was one person, key person, which even we were not concerned about. But the project went into a situation where it was supposed to happen into a risk release, and ultimately we realized that this person's signature is very much mandatory as per the process. Otherwise, we are not able to release it. So then it became like a situation. I mean, couple of days after release, and the person had played a vital role, and we had a complete mess up. And somehow, some or other deals, we made the project released. But yeah, this could be one of the
Beautiful.
example.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much, Prashant. Now, you use the word signature. Do you think this person has high interest in your project? You have an interest in making sure this person signs on time. If the signature is not available on time, will this person care? No.
No,
That is
definitely not.
called low interest but high power. Your senior management, you use the word signature, approvals. How many projects are there in your organization, guys? There are hundreds of projects. You think you are Superman or Wonder Woman and your project is the most important? No. Like you, bloody, there are 1,000 projects in the organization, and your senior management may have some other project have high visibility, high interest. But anytime they can kill the project. If tomorrow there's a budget crunch or schedule crunch, they'll simply kill your project, move all the money and all the people to that project. High power but low interest. How will you keep them engaged? You will keep them satisfied. Architect with tech know-how who is getting challenging task. This could be a monitoring thing. This could be a person with low power, low interest. The moment that architect becomes a part of your project, then becomes rises to some other level. Now, so you'll keep these people satisfied. How? I will give you a mnemonic that I found out. I will tell you. So you will make sure you're giving this person always not just informed, also you will keep them satisfied. Some things. No news means good news. So you don't have to tell every small thing, everything happening in the project. They're not interested. But you miss one status meeting or one small hint you give there is a problem, then they wake up. So you keep them satisfied by keeping the communication information channel open and giving them, feeding them what they want. Imagine one person, key stakeholder, management person is the finance person. They don't care about the niceties. So when you're reporting to that person, you can't talk about great goody goody things, team outing and all those. You talk about financial things. You keep that person satisfied. Another person is a people person. You show to that person how you care for the team. That information. This is called keeping a person satisfied. You understand their expectations, their interests, their needs, what is their background, then you will keep them satisfied with the right kind of communication. Finally comes high power, high interest, common sense. Your own department head, your customer, your key power stakeholders directly engaged in your project, they're all high interest, high power. You will manage them closely. I will now give you a mnemonic, what it means. Can you see this? So very simple to explain this. If a person is low power, low interest, you monitor them. That means you be in their CC. Someone beautifully typed on chat, resigned people. Imagine you be in their CC. So that associate keeps you in CC when he or she is saying, thank you very much. Today is my last day. I'm thankful for ABC, for the puppy, for the thing. Thank you, everyone. You're in their CC. Or some mails are happening. CC need not mean only email CCs. You make sure you are in their peripheral vision. But the next level, high interest, low power stakeholders, you keep them in your CC. Your peer project manager, you keep them in CC so that if they have one resource free, they are in your CC and they will know that you are in need of a person, extra person. Hey, Bhuvan, you know what? This person is not having any loading. I cannot bill this person. So you know what? Can you engage this person for the next 1 month? And can you actually bill this person? I get what I want, you get the person. This is called keeping them in your CC. And go to the top. Low interest, high power people, senior management. Or senior management, you talked about this signature person. Keep them satisfied. That means for them, no news means good news. So unless something really wrong happens, don't give them too much information, but also don't make them think, don't make, keep them wondering what is happening. That is, no news means good news. With manage closely, high power, high interest people, no news means bad news. You don't wait for them to come and ask you the status. You go forcibly and give them status. If your boss does not come to you regularly, you should be worried. If your customer keeps quiet, if everything is quiet, something is wrong. With people with whom you have to manage closely, no news means bad news. This is a mnemonic you can remember easily, which is how you can remember easily. So, like this, there are other things. For example, so you see, it's a measure of proactiveness. The stakeholder power interest grid, it's a measure of how proactively. And is that not what project management is all about? Stakeholder management is all about. It is a measure of proactiveness. Of course, like this, there are other tools. Instead of 2 dimensions, you use 3 dimensions of characteristics, stakeholder cube, you will see. We will not see that into detail in this session. Instead of just power and interest, you will use other things. Are they within closed space? Are they within your project? Are they with, are they, for example, specially asked to be in your project? All these different things you will use. Like that, there is something called salience model. Power, legitimacy are just similar. See, you are using power and interest in the 2 dimensional grid. More such characteristics you will use. So these are some tools and techniques. We will not go into detail for these. These are just good to know, but not really very important. So in planned stakeholder engagement, now this is what you call a beautiful big word. When I saw this word first time, I said, oh, Babri, stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. Very simple. Matrix because it's a matrix, common sense. Engagement assessment. So what is engagement? There are 5 levels of engagement. Unaware, huh? Yes, just like Prashant beautifully said, you are unaware. That is not the unaware here. That person may be unaware, and yes, someone who has to critically sign for your project, he or she may sign for 10 other projects. They may not know. For me, it recently happened in my project. The purchase team had to send some things, but they were not even aware because my project is already in series phase and towards closing. So it was not in the roster. They were unaware that they were stakeholders, and suddenly we raise a change request. They sit on it for 1 month, and when I tell them, hey, for 1 month you are sitting on it, now it's really push comes to show. They said, sorry, we are not aware that. Yeah, we get thousands of emails. We got a notification that we have to sign this, but we were not aware that we had to. Danger? This is called being unaware. Unaware stakeholders, resistant. They want you to fail, your project to fail for various reasons. Neutral. Why should I care? I neither have a positive nor negative thing. If you succeed, who cares? If you fail, who cares? Neutral. Supportive. Hey, for example, Prashant, I'm very supportive of you. I will do everything. You come and ask me anytime, I will help you. But you have to come and ask me. Otherwise, I will not do anything. That is supportive stakeholder. Leading. Hey, Prashant, what is happening, yeah? How is your project running? Hey, Vardaraju, how are things running in the project? Right? Sona, what is happening? I regularly come and engage you. And you tell, hey, Bhuvan, you know what? Good you came and asked. I've been in a dilemma. And if you had not asked, I would not have told you. This, how can I do? This is a leading stakeholder coming and advocating for you. These are the 5 levels of engagement. Always, I will give you another mnemonic now, another tip for the exam in a couple of minutes. You will create this SHEAM, stakeholder engagement assessment matrix, in which you list C, the current level of engagement, and D, desired level of engagement. So you will first mark stakeholder 1 names Rajesh, stakeholder 2 Prashant, stakeholder 3 Lakshmi. Like that you will list them. And today, what is Rajesh's level of engagement? Rajesh does not even know, he is not aware. Rajesh is such a critical person who has to sign on the approvals. Is he aware? Oh, he's not. See. But what is the desired level? I want Rajesh to be supporting in the future. That is the desired level of engagement. So in this, you will mark Rajesh C, unaware. C means current level. D means desired level. So you will mark Rajesh unaware as C. Today, Rajesh's stakeholder 1 level of engagement is current level of engagement C is unaware. You want Rajesh's desired level of engagement D to be supportive. So you want Rajesh, whenever you go and ask for signature, Rajesh will not only sign it on time, he will also push other people who have to sign on your behalf. He will go and talk, but only if you ask. So like this, you mark current level and desired level across for each people, and then your plan. Which today Rajesh is unaware. Why he is unaware? Because your project is in series phase. Rajesh has more urgent topics. No problem. You want Rajesh in the future to be where? D. Desired level. What? Supportive. You engage. My plan is to inform Rajesh, my project is not very high priority one, but you know what, in another 3 months some approvals will come, and 3 weeks before or 2 weeks before, you say, Rajesh, in another couple of weeks I'm going to raise a change request for approval. Could you please just sign it, and also could you ask your colleagues in the department, in the purchasing team or sales team, to also sign it? Could you please help? And then you call Rajesh once or twice in a day. This is what you want Rajesh to happen. So engage Rajesh, you make some plans, how to inform Rajesh and all this. So this is how you make a plan, how to know what is today's current level of engagement, what is tomorrow's desired level of engagement. And the trick here comes a mnemonic. How do you increase the level of engagement for any person? Simple. By make them see the benefits. And how will you make them see the benefits? By showing them early results. Why will you be interested? You know the world's most famous FM, WIIFM. WIIFM. What's in it for me? Whenever someone asks you to do something, whenever you have a task inside your brain, this FM is running. What is in it for me? So you show them what's in it for them. You show them the benefits. You show them some results. By showing small results, hey, you know what, this is how things could be. By showing them results, you're showing them the benefits, what is in it for me. Then you'll increase the level of engagement. This is one tip. So some these are some templates. I can share with you all these things later. So you can also pause this video when it's uploaded to YouTube, and you can see this. So these are, let me quickly check if the recording is running. Yes. And also the time 5:15. Okay. So this is one important tool and technique. This is what you call stakeholder engagement. Then in manage stakeholder engagement, let's see if some special tools. Yes, conflict resolution. You know what? We can have one special session only for conflict resolution, but very crisply putting, conflict means not a bad thing. Understand some basic things alone, I will say, without going into too much detail. Conflict means it's a good thing, healthy conflict. Always, when you have healthy disagreements on the theme, it's really good. You see this conflict resolution and resource management also, right? So what is the best way to handle a conflict? Confrontation. Confrontation is not a bad thing. People always think confrontation means bad. Con, Latin, means in front or against. Front means meeting it heads on. Confrontation means meeting things head on. What is the worst form? Avoiding. Like in some of you South Indians, or I don't know, you're North Indians, you know Rajinikanth movie. If you like Rajinikanth movie, you saw Badsha. I think it came in Hindi also, in other many languages. You know, Rajinikanth in the early part of the movie, auto driver, when the heroine Nagma, she gets into the auto, he will be going. Suddenly, he will stop the auto and turn. Why? Because there's a fight going on. He don't know. I don't like fight. I want to avoid. He turns his auto. Do not be that Manikam version of Rajinikanth. That is the poorest way to handle conflict management. Be the Badsha version of Rajinikanth. Confront. And depending on the situation, you will handle. Lose lose. I lose, you lose. What is that called? That is called lose lose. It is,
Compromise.
for example, lose lose is compromise. I give up something, you give up something. Sometimes, yeah, it is good. Compromising, people think it is great. No, compromising is the worst thing. You're making sure where negotiations. There's a beautiful thing in negotiations. They say the best form of negotiation is win-win. Compromise is not win-win. When both of you have to give up, you have agreed there is nothing to gain for both of you. So avoid directing or forcing. I win, you lose. Sometimes it's needed also. If you are the only expert in the team, sometimes people are stupidly, for the sake of arguing, they're arguing. You cannot actually have democracy. We are not running charity, we are not running a democracy, we are running a bloody company to earn money and profits. So in a corporate environment, sometimes you have to dictate and direct. Sometimes both of you give up, which is compromise. Sometimes you give up, the other person wins. Smoothing, accommodating, it's okay. Today you win, tomorrow I win, we are one team. Sometimes, yes. Avoiding is the worst thing. Collaborating is the win-win. See, confrontation is not one of these techniques. Confrontation is the attitude. Whenever I see a problem, I face it head on. I don't run away from it like Manikam, but like Badsha, I go in. So this is basically confrontation. Confrontation is a mindset. Collaboration is a technique. You are looking towards solving the problem. You know what? Let's see how both of us can win. So these are the different conflict resolution techniques. And issue log, of course, we know. Actually, we don't discuss too much into it. So when you're managing stakeholder engagement in the execution phase, you are first looking at the current level. You are already having a plan in front of you how to take this person to the desired level of engagement. You are executing this plan to increase the level of engagement of this person. Your plan is ensuring that this person sees the benefits, and you basically ensure that the plan is working. If the level of engagement has changed, the approach has to be redefined. You are very negotiable, very flexible. You change the approach. So during the entire lifetime of the project, regularly keep looking at the engagement as it changes, and regularly tailor your strategy or approach to engage that particular stakeholder. This is managing stakeholder or stakeholder engagement. And finally, MNC process monitoring and controlling. Standard tools and techniques, all the soft skills. Say root cause analysis. Why this person is unhappy? Why this person is not motivated anymore? Stakeholder analysis. Stakeholder analysis, exactly what we discussed. It is identifying the stakeholders, identifying their expectations, needs, requirements, the categorizing them actually, for example, the power interest, and documenting all this in a stakeholder register. This process is called stakeholder analysis. And lots of other soft skills you lose, communication skills and everything. So this is how these techniques are common, be it to manage or monitor stakeholder engagement. So this in a nutshell is stakeholder engagement. So I hope I have not run very fast. I just, what we saw here, we saw who is a stakeholder, why are they called stakeholders, what is what are the different stakes a person can have. We also saw what stakeholder management means, what is the difference between managing and engaging, how conventionally you think people exist to serve the project, serve you, do the work, but in reality we, the project, the work exists to serve the people, by to develop the people. And why, unlike in other knowledge areas, we don't have management, here we have engagement. that you are not managing people, you are managing work, you are engaging people. That is why it is plan stakeholder engagement, manage stakeholder engagement, and monitor stakeholder engagement. Why it is? And we saw what are the biggest tools and techniques. Number one is stakeholder register. You saw power interest grid, some mnemonics how to handle that. You saw stakeholder engagement assessment, how to find the current level and desired level, and what is the meaning of increasing their engagement level by showing them the benefits and results, how to do it, and how all these things fit into stakeholder analysis. All these things with the conflict resolution together. Stakeholder management is a gyan. It's a lecture, it's a bhashan knowledge area. You don't have, like in cost management or in schedule management, you don't have mathematics. You don't even have the thrill that you have in risk management. But believe me, this is the actual thing that differentiates you from being just another project manager to a great leader. So this is what stakeholder management is. So with this, I close the lecture part of it. The floor is open for questions, comments, your own ideas, examples, suggestions. You want to bring in your own thoughts, please feel free to bring in your own thoughts. No, it's not only for questions, you can also share your experiences. So thanks for listening patiently. I hope it was an engaging discussion. One